Dear Abby, I have some really exciting news, Abby. I'm moving in with you. Aren't you excited? We can spend hours and hours and hours together. It'll be just perfect. Let me explain. My job paid just enough so that way I could make rent and pay for food every week. Because of this, I had little to no money left in savings. Nowhere near enough to last a very long time. When you take that money flow away, it doesn't take very much time until you have nothing left. I was able to get by for a few days, but just today I got evicted. This could actually be better than I had originally thought. I wouldn't be surprised if that guy that gave me your room number has been able to contact the police by now. This way, they won't be able to find me, and we get to spend all the time in the world together. It's perfect, isn't it? I made sure to bring all my tapes and photos I've taken with me, though. And my cameras, of course. You should really tell whoever's managing your apartment complex to get a better staff. I was able to get by security easily. I went up to your room and knocked on the door, but I got no answer. So I decided to get in by other means. After scanning the footage that I took last night over a few times, I noticed that you have a ventilation shaft in the corner of your room. Not surprising considering how hot it can get here in the summer. I figured there had to be some kind of maintenance hatch that I could get in through. After a few minutes of looking around, I found a door at the end of your hall that seemed to be some kind of staff room. And luckily, there was a way into the vents there. I crawled through them until I got to your room. It was very cramped and hard to move around in, but I managed. When I got there, though, I felt a rush of success. I figured since the lights were out and that I couldn't see you, that you weren't home. But I'm patient. I scanned every part of your room, trying to memorize all the intricate details. Your scent overwhelmed me as I sat there. I had caught it briefly during the 2 times that I saw you at the store, but never this strong. It was mesmerizing. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it reminded me of something. It was almost like peaches. I sat there hunched over for a few hours. Though I've taught myself to be extremely patient, I can sit completely motionless for hours at a time, not moving a muscle. No one was going to notice me. Then you finally got home. I felt a wide smile form on my face the second I heard the door open. There you were, my love. Of course you took no notice to my presence. The light in your room seemed to be angled perfectly so you couldn't see anything in the vent past the first few inches. I tried to contain my excitement, but I started breathing very heavily. I tried to cover it up as best I could, but it was hard. You suddenly looked right at the vent, and I went completely silent. After a few seconds, though, you seemed to lose interest. This made me smile. This was the perfect spot. I could tell that I had startled you, though. All throughout the night you were turning over in your sleep to look at the vent. People seem to have a sense for when they're being watched. It can send them into complete panic. Don't try to fake it, Abby. I can tell when someone's awake. When someone's truly scared, sleep becomes impossible. Why are you so scared anyways? It's just me. Why would I scare you? You do love me, right? You know I love you. I'm looking forward to spending every day with you now, Abby. Right back if you can. Love, Jay. Dear Abby, I saw you wake up this morning. I didn't sleep a wink last night. You were too enthralling. I spent the whole night watching you. I couldn't help it. Anytime I tried to look away, my eyes seemed to be drawn back a few seconds later. You look even more amazing when you're sleeping, you know. You'd be surprised how much you can learn about a person's personality by watching them sleep. I I was tempted to get out of the vent to get a better view multiple times throughout the night, but I resisted the urge. I couldn't have you figuring out that I'm here. Not yet, at least. You seemed to spend a lot of time in your bathroom this morning. I assumed you were taking a shower putting on makeup. Why would you do that, Abby? Anything you could do to change the way that you naturally look would only cover up your true beauty. Why would you want to do that? Don't you want the whole world to see what I see in you? You left shortly after to work, or at least that's what I assumed. After careful consideration, I decided to leave the vent. I slid my hand through one of the slits and felt around for one of the bolts. The surface of the vent was very smooth, which made them very easy to find. I grabbed onto one and twisted it as hard as I could, and finally was able to pop it off. I did this with all the other bolts and finally removed the grating. The first thing that I did was go over to the bathroom. I quickly disposed of everything that I could find that you used to mask your face. That stuff disgusts me. This way, everyone will get to see how you truly are. I also found something else in there. Your hairbrush. I grabbed it and brought it close up to my face to examine it. It was a dull blue with a very thick, rounded handle. But that wasn't what interested me. The hairs. That's what made me so interested. It took a good few minutes to pull every one of them I could see out and line them up on your counter. I counted them. I'd gotten 59. This pleased me greatly. I quickly scooped them up and put them in my pocket. I spent the rest of the day going through your stuff to learn more about you, your interests and such. I take it you're a big movie fan, Abby? I found your collection in the back of your closet, and I have to say that it's quite impressive. I found something else in there that made me mad. A picture of you with another man. It disgusted me to look at him, holding you like he owned you. I'm the only one that can have you, Abby. No one else. At about 8:30, I considered starting to get back into the vent, since that's usually about the time when you get home from work. Then I had another idea. I looked at your bed. The blankets hung low enough to the floor that you couldn't see underneath the bed unless you lifted them up. I first screwed on the vent grating and slowly slid under the bed with a smile on my face and waited for you to get home. When you finally came in, you looked completely pale, and I noticed someone else coming in behind you. They were talking to you about hearing noises coming from your room throughout the day. I mentally yelled at myself. I would need to be more careful from now on. Going under the bed was a good idea, though, since obviously your first thought was to check the vent. You thanked the person and they left. Finally, you and I were alone. I sat there in silence until you went to bed. It seemed like an eternity before you did. I wanted to get a closer look at you tonight, and this was my chance. You got into bed and turned off the lights. I was cautious, though. I waited for hours to make sure that you were asleep. When I was sure that you were, I slowly slid out from under the bed. And I saw you there. You looked absolutely stunning. Every curve of your body was perfect. Every little detail was beautiful. I was in awe just looking at you. I reached out my hand and started to stroke your face. It was soft like silk. I felt myself starting to get hard. Your beauty was overwhelming. I slowly reached down and started to pleasure myself. I tried to control myself out of worry of waking you up, but I couldn't help it. I felt pure ecstasy. Everything about you was perfect. Suddenly you seemed to turn and started to wake up. Horrified, I quickly slid back under the bed, trying to be as quiet as possible. A few seconds I saw you get out of bed and look around. I could sense your fear even without looking at you. You should feel calm with me around, Abby. I'll protect you, Abby. No one will ever touch you but me. I'd kill someone for you, Abby. I made sure to pay attention today. You didn't bring in my letter from yesterday or any mail at all. You must just not check your mailbox. I'm going to change that, though. I'm going to leave this one on your desk tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to mention. I'm making something special for you. Check your closet after you read this. Yours forever, Jay. Dear Abby, I spent more time today working on this surprise for you while you were at work. You're really gonna love it, Abby. I've put a lot of work into it, you know. I spent a few hours today putting the finishing touches on it, and I think it's finally ready for you to see. You got home about 8:30 again and saw the letter lying on your desk almost immediately. I started to smile as I saw you open it, waiting to see your reaction. It's really quite interesting watching your face. I could see all the different emotions and thoughts. You seemed to be confused at first, then shocked, then horrified. You started to shake violently, and I saw that you were starting to cry. Do you not like me, Abby? Why were you crying? Don't you love me? Don't you love me, Abby? Everything after that was a blur. You looked over at the closet while still sobbing, and you seemed to be contemplating whether to open it or not. Instead, you ran past it and out the door. When you came back, you had all my letters in your hand and started going through them. At some point, you seemed to break down and curl up on the floor, tears still rolling down your face. I could tell that you were desperately trying to say something, anything, but you were too paralyzed in fear. After about 10 minutes, I saw you look under the bed, in the vent, anywhere I could be. You see, though, Abby, I'm smarter than that. I knew you'd look in those places. I found a better place after I finished your surprise. You'll never find me here. No one will. Isn't it great? I can watch you forever and ever, and there's nothing you or anyone else can do about it. You hadn't found your surprise yet, though, Abby, and I could tell that you were still thinking about it. I saw you look over to your closet, and I knew that you wanted to open it, but at the same time you were nervous. What was going to be in it? What would you find? This couldn't last forever, though. You and I both knew that. I watched you slowly walk over to your closet, fumbling with the handle trying to get a firm grasp on it. Suddenly you flung the doors open and saw it. It was a scrapbook of me and you. I saw you flipping through the pages. You seemed to be shocked. Do you not like it, Abby? I got pictures of you and I when you weren't looking. Pictures of you sleeping, pictures of you at your computer. I'd scattered the hairs I'd had in my collection throughout it, along with pictures of couples together, of course with our faces on them, though. I got that picture of you with that other guy and put it in the very back. Except I didn't leave it like it normally was. I scratched that little prick's face off. I hate him so much. If I knew who he was, I would hunt him down and make him suffer. Don't you get it, Abby? No one can have you but me. Me and you are meant for each other. No one else. I watched you sob for another 30 minutes, and then get up and run out of your apartment. Shortly after, you came back with multiple policemen. This shocked me. Did you not like your surprise, Abby? Why would you bring these people into our room? They'll never find where I am. But if they did, it could ruin everything. All my work from the past few weeks would be for nothing. You wouldn't want that, right, Abby? I'm exhausted from today's work. And as much as I love you, I need sleep, Abby. Have a good night. I love you. Love, Jay. Dear Abby, do you see what you've done, Abby? Do you see what you've done? I woke up at 8 a.m. to see you frantically packing your bags. I was confused at first, but then I understood. You were leaving me. You don't love me. You don't love me. How could you do this to me, Abby? You were the only thing I wanted in life. I had nothing else to live for, but when I first met you, I saw a shimmer of hope. I thought that I'd finally found a reason to wake up in the morning and go on with my shitty life. And you went and threw that away. How could you do this to me, Abby? A few seconds after you left your room, I got out of my hiding spot and followed behind you. Saw you throw your bags into the back and then start your car. I wasn't going to let you get away, though, Abby. I would never let that happen. I ran as fast as I could to your car and smashed out the window and dragged you out. Did you really think you can get away from me, Abby? I had to hit you over the head to knock you out. You were making too much noise. Someone else, someone that doesn't understand, could have seen and ruined everything. Well, I had a plan for if you reacted like this. I drove out to the storage unit at the edge of town. I'd reserve a slot the day that I decided to move in with you. I drove up and unlocked it. I grabbed you and carried you inside with me. It had only been a few minutes, so you were still unconscious. I made sure to check through your pockets to make sure that you didn't have your phone with you. I set you down at the very back of the small room, and then I got in and lowered the door. Called the owner of the storage unit and told him that I'd visited my lot the other day and forgotten to lock it, and asked him if he wouldn't mind locking it for me. Of course he said yes, and I hung up. I then threw the phone on the ground and stomped on it, to make sure that it would never work again. Shortly later, I heard the owner come up and lock the door. About an hour later, I saw you start to get up. I first heard a very faint grunt, and then I saw your legs start to move. Shortly after, you were fully awake. When you saw my face, you started to scream, which then subsided to a whine and then to a whimper. That's when you saw it. The only other thing in the room. My knife. It was obvious why it was there. And after a second or two of realization, you jumped up and grabbed it. I looked you dead in the eyes and said, Abby, I love you. And then I felt the searing pain of the knife being driven into my side. Felt it being pulled out and jabbed back in with great force. I could feel it go in each time, like a fire burning a hole through my chest. I fell to the floor, laughing while coughing up blood. I saw you back away, trembling, and sit back down in the corner. And now, as I sit here in a puddle of my own blood writing this, I wonder how you'll go out. Will you use the knife to take your own life? Or will you let starvation take you? Either way, we'll be together in death, Abby. Together from the day that I saw you to the day we both died. Just as I wanted it. And as you sit there crying, I can tell you've come to this realization. Abby, this is all I ever wanted. And for that, I have to say thank you. Love, Jay.